Please rise for the entrance of the official party and remain standing for the playing of the national anthem and an invocation by Cadet White.
Dear Father God, thank you for all the blessings and abilities you have given us to be here today. Today we witness your almighty, never-failing plan and provision for these soon-to-be Army officers. Lord, we ask as they close out this season of life and move into the next, that they will move into honor, respect, confidence, tenacity, and an eagerness to learn. Father, we ask that you protect them in wherever life takes them, and that they will seek your guidance as the ultimate example of leadership. Lastly, Lord, as we go out here today following the completion of this ceremony, we ask for safe travels, laughs, and fellowship for just one more time before we all go our separate ways. Thank you, God, for your never-ending, oh so perfect love. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Good morning, special guest, Mr. Ray Jones, Civilian Aide to the Secretary of the Army, Chancellor Steinmetz, Chief of Staff Jacobs, Vice Chancellor Power, Associate Vice Chancellor Overby, Dr. Miller, Dr. English, cadets, families, and friends. Welcome to the University of Arkansas Army ROTC Spring 2018 Commissioning Ceremony. This morning, we pay special tribute to 11 of our cadets soon to be commissioned. For family and friends, this is a proud moment. During the ceremony, we invite all family members or friends to come forward to take pictures. For the cadre and staff, there's a feeling of professional satisfaction in having prepared these 11 young cadets for the future. For these cadets, it's an occasion for celebration of the dual completion of their degree and the Army ROTC program, as well as the commencement of a new journey of service to the nation. I am Cadet Hartman, and on behalf of the University of Arkansas Department of Military Science, allow me to extend their warmest welcome. Today is the culmination of over 4 years of preparation by these cadets. The Arkansas General Assembly passed legislation creating the Arkansas Industrial University here in Fayetteville on March 27, 1871. Military training began at the University of Arkansas on the 13th of September of that same year. Captain Burnell, a former officer in the U.S. Army, assumed the position of Commandant to oversee training for the first 2 years. In 1873, the War Department detailed the first officer, Lieutenant E.S. Curtis, to supervise the military training on campus. He served from 1872 until 1875 and saw the military department grow to 120 young men. Military training has been continuous at the University of Arkansas for over 147 years. And over 2,100 graduates of this institution have been commissioned into the United States military. Today, 11 more will be commissioned and join the officers from among 275 other universities in the U.S. to provide the leadership for our brave soldiers serving here in the United States and around the world. They will carry with them the pride of a strong tradition of military excellence from this institution and the courage to adapt to an ever-changing world, and we, the staff of the University of Arkansas Army ROTC, know they are ready. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Chad Quayle, Professor of Military Science for the Army ROTC program, will make some remarks.
Mr. Jones, Dr. Steinmetz, Rear Admiral Buffington, thank you very friends, family, distinguished guests, thank you so much for joining us today to be part of this very special ceremony for these cadets. I'd like to extend a special welcome to former cadets, now lieutenants out there in the force that have made the trip to be with us today. We had a couple driving it like it was stolen from Fort Benning starting about 1900 last night to be with us here today. Thank you for joining us. Today is a big day. It is a day of transition for these young men and women. There are certain points in life where when you go in, the world is one way, your role is one thing, and at the end of it, it's something else. Some of those that come to mind, marriage. When you walk in, you're an individual, you're single. When you walk out, you are part of a couple. That is part of your identity. And what you had before, you are no longer that, and yet it is the beginning of something completely new. When you become a parent, before that first child, you're a couple. After that child comes in, your life is not going to be the same after that. It is irrevocably changed. Today, in a lot of ways, is one of those moments for these young men and women. Right now, they're cadets. There are other cadets here that are participating in this ceremony, but at the end of this ceremony, after they raise their hand and they swear their oath, they are no longer cadets. They are commissioned officers in the United States Army. Right now, they are all peers. At the end of the day, the end of this ceremony, they will not be. This is important because the responsibilities that they take when they raise their hand, when you think about what these young men and women are going to be responsible for once they leave here, once they get their first job, compared to a lot of their peers coming out of the university, it's truly remarkable. Very few other places are going to take somebody that's 22, 23 years old, when they show up, tell them, here are your 38 people that you're responsible for. Sign here for your millions of dollars worth of equipment. Here's your mission. Train these young men and women that are serving underneath you, many of whom are much older than you and more experienced than you. Train them to do their jobs, accomplish their mission, and don't mess it up, knowing full well that you're going to because you're 22, 23 years old and you have no experience. And get it right. Knowing that if you don't, the consequences for that can be catastrophic. It is a lot of responsibility that these young men and women are getting ready to assume. Many are going through commencement later this afternoon. Some, the remainder, are doing it tomorrow. So your schooling is done, for now. But your education is just beginning. And you must continue to learn. You absolutely have to, because if you do not, the enemy will make you pay for it. You need to study your adversaries and you need to study your environment, because I can promise you they're studying you. Learn your lessons. Make sure your soldiers learn their lessons and bring them home safely. And last, before we go on and we continue with our ceremony, I want to take an opportunity to recognize one individual. Today we're commissioning 11 officers. We should have 12. Sometimes the fates work for you, sometimes they don't. One that we have been hoping and praying we would be commissioning today is Miss Abigail McVeigh. Abby, you out there? Tell you a little bit about Miss McVeigh. She is an outstanding cadet. Always a smile, always working for the program, one of our hardest working students. Last year, top 15% of camp. This last fall is an indicator. How she did this, I don't know, but she managed to snap her femur while playing flag football. Nobody hit her. She was just running so hard she snapped it. And last March, she had managed to have surgery, do her PT, do her recovery, and score in the 260s out of 300 on her PT test in order to where she could be here in commission today. Unfortunately, we're waiting for some more medical documentation to get her squared away before we can commission her. But I'd like to give a round of applause to her. At some point, she will be commissioning as a military intelligence officer, and so get used to this. This isn't going to be the last time that you're getting hosed by the system. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our narrator. We'll continue with the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Coyle. Please allow me to introduce our guest speaker for today, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Cox, Arkansas Army National Guard. Lieutenant Colonel Cox has served in several leadership positions in the Arkansas Army National Guard since 1991. Lieutenant Colonel Cox currently serves as the Arkansas Army National Guard's J5 Strategic Plans Officer in Little Rock. Without further ado, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Cox.
Mr. Jones, Chancellor Steinmetz, Rear Admiral Buffington, and also faculty, distinguished guests, family members, ROTC cadre, and finally, cadets, aka soon to be the newest lieutenants of the U.S. Army. It's a great day. It's one of those that soon we'll never forget. I'm honored Colonel Coyle invited me to be a part of the ceremony today and participate with you in it. As I prepared my speaking notes earlier this week, I started reflecting on my own commissioning back some 24 years ago. I can remember the stage. I can remember my new wife, my bride at the time, the black and white dress she wore. I can remember all the competing sergeants outside that won my first silver dollar as I went out the door of that very first salute, which was very special. I remember a lot of things about that day, the lunch and different things. One thing I can't remember anything about is the speaker. I have no earthly idea if it was Malian, if it was male, female, civilian, military. I truly cannot remember a single thing about that. So, with that in mind, it really helped me put today in perspective that my small piece in this. It's all about you. So, with that in mind, on behalf of Major General Mark Perry, the Adjutant General of our great state, and the commanding team of the Arkansas Army National Guard, I stand before you recognizing that in a few weeks, or very sooner more than likely, you're not going to remember anything I said this morning, and I am perfectly fine with that. So, in light of the occasion, and respect for all those other great memories that you're going to make today with your commencements, your commissionings, all these wonderful times with your family, and everything else, this is going to be relatively brief. I've got 3 little pages here to discuss, and the top topic that Colonel Coyle asked me to mention this morning was how to be an ethical leader in the Army. So I just want to provide you with a few thoughts, some challenges that hit very close to home to me as I've been in those ethical dilemmas, and then I just want to send you off with a few other things. So let's recap first. What's the ethical culture that these soon-to-be lieutenants is about to adopt? According to the 2017 Gallup poll, the most trusted institution in the United States is the military. And it's been that way since the 1980s, repeatedly, always the military has been the top institution. When they poll our civilians and government and everyone else across the nation and ask them, okay, that's fine, military is the very top institution, most trusted, good. Who's the most trusted professionals? They said the officers and the nurses. So if you happen to be commissioning as a nurse, you're a double whammy today. If not, that is a huge legacy that you're adopting ethically, that everyone across our nation recognizes officers are people of integrity that do the right thing. The military, as you well know, after 4 years of studying ROTC, is a professional organization. It regulates its own 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether we're in uniform, overseas, out in a social visit, we're still professionals. We still live the ethical code. All you officers soon to be are tasked with maintaining good order and discipline and leading with integrity at all times. I've been in combat in Iraq. I've targeted by small arms fire, indirect fire, artillery, IEDs, all these different things. We were all trained for that. It's instinctive. The most challenging things I've had to deal with is the ethical piece, because you are so challenged to take care of your soldiers and your unit 24 hours a day. Your success is intertwined with them. They are your family. It's not about you anymore after today. It's about those soldiers. And you will be put in those kind of predicaments daily. You'll be tempted to help them succeed no matter what it takes. And you need to start thinking about that today as you go to pin on those bars. It may begin with something very, very simple, as I've been tested, and everyone else is urban uniform. I just came off of a one-year deployment. It's hard to do deployment every day. So this could be an example that happened with me, but you've got a platoon sergeant. He is your right arm person. Everything you do in a platoon is you and him together like a couple. He came off deployment. He's not in the best shape he's supposed to be. It's a PT test time. All he needs is just a couple of push-ups in order to pass his physical training test. Go before the promotion board this year. He's a platoon sergeant. He's going to make a great first sergeant. You trust him with your life, and you want to do right by him. So you say to yourself, hey, all I'm going to do is just give him 2 points on his PT test. He'll pass. He'll be my first sergeant. I'll work with him diligently. We'll get his PT where it needs to be. It's a test. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal at the time, but it's a slippery slope you're starting. The next test you come across is, in my case, I'm an artillery officer. You validate everyone's proficiencies on their weapon systems. You go to the ranges with them. You make certain that they are safe and that they can conduct all their operations proficiently and safely. But there's an external evaluator. But you're good friends with everyone in your circle. It's a small battalion. You've got their lieutenants you talk with. And so you go to this other lieutenant and his captain, and you say, hey, we've got some time in our training schedule. I'm going to be able to fix this. I get it. They're right on the margin, but let's go ahead and give them that T for good training, and I'll take care of it on my own. He's a good friend. He's loyal to you, so you take care of it. All these things are working out really well for your career. Your soldiers are happy with you. They're not having to work longer days. You're taking care of them. The commander that you have to deal with day in and day out sees that you're getting results. Your physical training scores are good. All your guys are getting all their certifications done. That's working out well for you as well. But that's not what it's all about. The Army's published regulations outlining the minimum requirements for a reason. Every instance you reduce the standard, you, as the leaders, people in charge, guys around, just like Colonel Quell said, they're no longer cadets after today. They're no longer a peer to anyone in the room. You are a leader with great faith in the U.S. government and all its population to do the right thing all the time. And every time you break that standard, you're reducing it and putting your soldiers and your unit in jeopardy. Not just in jeopardy for their little piece of it, but what's your main mission overall? To win your nation's wars. Combat readiness is what all this feeds into. It's very, very important that you maintain that standard all the time as officers. So like Colonel Quell mentioned earlier, all these little things I talked about can result in catastrophic failures for all those involved. The PT failure, if you didn't go back and focus his attention, fix his PT problem, it may come up. It may come up in combat where he has to pull someone else out of the vehicle or support a fire team that he just can't keep up and holds an entire team behind. That artillery section that you thought you were helping by passing along, again, it's life and death. They may be fine, and you think, hey, we're not going to combat tomorrow, so it's all going to be okay. But having my best friend and roommate that went to basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma some 20 years ago, and had some other artilleryman that wasn't doing his job efficiently, launched an artillery round right in the middle of my friend's basic training section. Killed 3 soldiers, wounded 24, all because he didn't maintain the standard. I'm sure it wasn't as simple as that, but this is a prime example of how gravely serious your jobs are. You've all been called to execute one of the most challenging yet rewarding jobs possible. But with that calling comes great, great responsibility. It's not a popularity contest. It's not always honest to be easy to be honest with ourselves, with our subordinates, because we're so tight with them, and especially not our bosses. We're all wired to be that alpha male, alpha female, do the very best job we can, and never, ever fail. But it's required to have that kind of integrity. The Army you're about to lead is ever-changing and fast-paced. Provides lots of opportunities for you to take shortcuts. However, as officers, again, it's your duty to maintain those standards and to lead with integrity and keep that public's trust that you will always do the right thing, whether it benefits you or not. News today is filled with unethical stories of government and civilian institutions that are not upholding that standard. Again, it's a slippery slope. You're going to be tempted, but you've got to keep yourself and your soldiers above that at all times. So that's my ethics speech. He's came close to me so many times. It's one of the most challenging things that you'll do. We transition briefly for the last few minutes of my discussion. First, to the families in the audience. Moms, dads, grandparents, whoever it was, this decision today to be a part of the ROTC program and to commission was these soon-to-be new lieutenants. But obviously, that idea of service and doing something above yourself started somewhere years ago before they ever came to college. And so I want to thank you for allowing these soon-to-be lieutenants to serve our nation. In case you haven't seen the ads recently, only 1% of our population actually serves in the military. And then these on the front row have went ahead and distinguished themselves far from that 1% to choose to be officers. So that is a very, very special choice, and again, it's one that can't be taken lightly. To the cadets that are about to be commissioned, today's all about you, as I said earlier. Soak it up, enjoy it, celebrate it, because as Colonel Quell mentioned, after you pin those bars on a few minutes, it's entirely something different. That popularity contest I talked about, the good times, they will still come. But it's about something much, much larger. It's about how you're going to lead. It's about the units that you're going to support. It's about the U.S. Army that you're going to serve in. It's about preserving our great and wonderful blessing in the nation. It's about fulfilling your commitment to serve selflessly today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your lives. It's really something much, much larger than yourself. So on an up note, the soldiers you're getting today have changed vastly over the decades. They're the best trained, best equipped, the most highly dedicated and motivated soldiers that the nation's ever had. The equipment we get is top-notch. The computer systems, the equipment is just superior. So in a few minutes, when you begin fulfilling your destiny, do it selflessly. I know you're ready. The University of Arkansas is a superior program. I've been a part of this ROTC program for years, and they train officers correctly and right. You've got every bit of the skill set you need to go before and be a lieutenant to succeed wonderfully in anything you're going to be faced with. So I'm wrapping this up. Again, I want to thank you, Colonel Quell, Chancellor, others for allowing me to come and be a part of this super occasion today. Please go and do great things as officers in the U.S. Army for your country, for your units, for your fellow man. And congratulations to each and every one of you for this great step in your careers.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Cox. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Quayle would like to come forward for a presentation. Cadets, now is the moment you have all been working towards during the last several years. In a few minutes, the 11 of you will take the oath of office and be commissioned. The oath is simple, yet profound. The responsibilities it carries should be humbling, because thereafter, you each will represent the pride of the nation and the leadership of the Army. Charged with remaining steadfast, maintaining peace and national security, and also being prepared to win our nation's wars. With complete faith in your ability to fulfill the pledge you are about to take, the cadre, staff, and cadets of the Razorback Brigade offer congratulations for your achievement and commitment. As each cadet is called forward, we ask that the pinning party, oathing officer, and first salute NCO also come forward to your designated positions. Will Cadet Jared Allman please come forward? Second Lieutenant Will Shaw, United States Army and Army ROTC alumnus, will administer the oath of office.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Jared Aiden Allman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I bear true faith and just the same,
that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
and that I take this obligation freely and without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will discharge, and that I will well faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
and that I will well faithfully discharge the duties of the office. The duties of the office I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Lieutenant Allman will be pinned by his father and stepmother, Kirsten Kim Allman, and his mother, Sarah Gilbert. Lieutenant Allman earned a degree in both International Relations and Middle East Studies, with a minor in Arabic, and has been selected to assess into active duty Army, and is branching into the Ordnance Corps, with pre-selection for explosive ordnance disposal training. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Second Lieutenant Jared Allman. Second Lieutenant Allman's grandfather, Specialist John Allman, Arkansas Army National Guard, will render the first salute. The first salute symbolizes the acknowledgement of this lieutenant into the officer corps, along with all the respect and courtesy that accompanies his or her new rank. Tradition also calls for the newly commissioned officer to present a silver dollar to the recipient of the salute. Inside your program guide, you will find the history behind the presentation of the silver dollar. Will Cadet Justin Kaler please come forward? Captain Dayton Levitt, Arkansas Army National Guard, will administer the oath of office.
I, Justin Taylor,
Lieutenant Officer of the United States Army.
been appointed an officer of the United States Army,
To the grade of second lieutenant, do solemnly swear
in the grade of second lieutenant, do solemnly swear
to support and defend the United States Constitution,
to support, to defend and support the United States Constitution,
bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
I will well and
Lieutenant Kaler will be pinned by his parents, Jim Kaler and Kim Lindsay, and his wife, McKenna Kaler. Lieutenant Kaler earned a degree in mechanical engineering with a minor in business management and has been selected to assess in the active duty Army in his branching infantry. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Second Lieutenant Justin Kaler. Second Lieutenant Kaler's grandfather, Specialist John Kaler, United States Army, 1959 to 1962, will render the first salute. Cadet Elena Chavez, please come forward. Cadet Chavez's best friend and roommate, Second Lieutenant Tiffany Pham, United States Army Reserves and Army ROTC alumnus, will administer the oath of office.
State your full name. I, Elena Rose Chavez, having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States and the Army of the United States in the grade of Second Lieutenant and the grade of Second Lieutenant, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation, or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God. So help me God.
Lieutenant Chavez will be pinned by her sisters, Marin Chavez Collins and Kinsey Chavez. Lieutenant Chavez earned a degree in accounting with honors and has been selected to assess in the active duty Army and is branching infantry. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Second Lieutenant Marin Chavez. Specialist Zane Adams, United States Army, will render the first salute. Will Cadet Madison Cheeves please come forward? Cadet Cheeves' uncle, Captain Michael Vizcarra, United States Navy, retired, will administer the oath of office. Captain Vizcarra served for 30 years in active duty and had 3 command tours. He has 2 Legion of Merit medals, a Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, and many other commendable medals for his service.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Madison Avery Cheeves,
Having been appointed an officer
in
in the Army of the United States
the Army of the United States
in the grade of Second Lieutenant,
in the grade of Second Lieutenant,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
foreign
foreign and domestic,
and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental
or
reservation
purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which I am about to enter.
of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Lieutenant Chiefs will be pinned by her grandmother, Erla Swordell, on behalf of her late husband and Lieutenant Chief's grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel Thomas J. Swordell, United States Army retired. Lieutenant Colonel Swordell was a quartermaster officer and Vietnam veteran. He is dearly missed by his family. Lieutenant Chiefs is also being pinned by her uncle, Captain Michael Vizcarra, United States Navy retired. Lieutenant Chiefs earned a degree in biology and has been selected to assess into the active duty Army and is branching into the Transportation Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Second Lieutenant Madison Shields. Master Sergeant Christopher Beanland, United States Army, will render the first salute. Will Cadet Andrew Denone please come forward? Lieutenant Colonel Chad Quayle will administer the oath of office.
I, Andrew Jordan Denone,
Having been appointed an officer
having been appointed an officer
in the Army of the United States,
in the Army of the United States,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
in the grade of Second Lieutenant,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation
that I take this obligation
freely
freely
without mental reservation
without mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
for purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
of which I am about to enter.
of which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Lieutenant Denone will be pinned by his parents, Sam and Malia Denone. Lieutenant Denone earned a degree in both Information Systems and Supply Chain Logistics Management and has been selected to assess into the Texas Army National Guard and is branching into the Quartermaster Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Second Lieutenant Andrew Denone. Sergeant Colin Denone, United States Army, will render the first salute. Will Cadet George Hardin please come forward? Second Lieutenant Drake Johnson, United States Army and Army ROTC alumnus, will administer the oath of office.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, George Regard,
Having been appointed officer in the Army of the United States,
have been appointed officer in the United States,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Lieutenant Harden will be pinned by his parents, Jim and Mary Pat Harden, and siblings Tyler and Abby Musil. Lieutenant Harden earned a degree in finance and has been selected to assess into active duty Army and is branching into the Aviation Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Second Lieutenant George Harden. Master Sergeant Anthony Cabot, United States Army, will render the first salute. Will Cadet Trevor Larson please come forward? Cadet Larson's sister, Captain Taylor N. Matson, United States Army Judge Advocate General's Corps, will administer the oath of office.
Raise your right hand. I state your name,
I, Trevor Cole Larson,
having been appointed an officer
having been appointed an officer
in the Army of the United States
in the Army of the United States
in the rank of second lieutenant,
in the rank of Second Lieutenant,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservations
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Lieutenant Larson will be pinned by his parents, Tim Larson and Darlene Floyd, and his sister, Captain Taylor Matson. Lieutenant Larson earned a degree in political science and has been selected to assess into the active duty Army and is branching into the Armored Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Second Lieutenant Trevor Larson.
Happens to the best one.
Master Sergeant Anthony Cabot, United States Army, will render the first salute. Will Cadet Jacob Mayfield please come forward? Lieutenant Colonel Chad Quill, United States Army, will administer the oath of office.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution
Lieutenant Mayfield will be pinned by his mother, Jolene Mayfield, and his sisters Sarah and Anna Mayfield. Lieutenant Mayfield earned a degree in Information Systems and has been selected to assess in the active duty Army and is branching into the Signal Corps with a branch detail of infantry. Ladies and gentlemen, I present 2nd Lieutenant Jacob Mayfield. 2nd Lieutenant Mayfield's father, Sergeant Kenneth Mayfield, United States Army, 10th Special Forces Group, will render the first salute. Will Cadet Charles Mooney please come forward? Captain Levitt, Arkansas Army National Guard, will administer the oath of office.
I, Charles Mooney, have been appointed an officer of the United States Army. Have been appointed an officer of the United States Army. And the second lieutenant. In the grade of second lieutenant. United States Constitution. Promise to defend the United States Constitution. That I take this obligation freely. Without mental reservation. Our purpose of evasion. That I will and faithfully. Discharge the duties. Of which the office I'm about to enter. So help me God.
Lieutenant Mooney will be pinned by his mother, Gail Masingale, father Charles Mooney II, his wife Mandy, and his children Leonidas, Maggie, and Odysseus. Lieutenant Mooney earned a degree in history and has been selected to assess in the active duty Army and is branching into the Medical Service Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, I present 2nd Lieutenant Charles Mooney. Second Lieutenant Mooney's stepfather, Specialist David Masingale, United States Army, 11 Bravo, from 1981 to 1985, will render the first salute. Will Cadet Hunter Reynolds please come forward? Captain Dayton Levitt, Arkansas Army National Guard, will administer the oath of office. Lieutenant Reynolds will be pinned by his parents, Gary and Elaine Reynolds, and brother, Rafe Reynolds. Lieutenant Reynolds earned a degree in marketing with a minor in supply chain logistics management and has been selected to assess into active duty Army and is branching into the Transportation Corps. Master Sergeant Anthony Cabot, United States Army, will render the first salute. Will Cadet Samuel Shorts please come forward? Lieutenant Colonel Chad Quell, United States Army, will administer the oath of office.
I, Samuel Schwartz, having been appointed an officer
I've been appointed an officer
in the Army of the United States,
in the Army of the United States,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation
that I take this obligation
freely,
freely,
without any mental reservations
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
execute the duties
execute the duties
of the office of which I am about to enter.
of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Lieutenant Schwartz will be pinned by his parents, Daniel and Deborah Schwartz, and siblings, James and Teresa Schwartz. Lieutenant Schwartz earned a degree in history and has been selected to assess into active duty Army and has branched field artillery. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Second Lieutenant Samuel Schwartz.
He's the decorator.
Master Sergeant Anthony Cabot, United States Army, will render the first salute. At this time, I would like our newly commissioned lieutenants to please come forward. Please join me in a round of applause for the 11 newest second lieutenants in the United States Army. Thank you. Please take your seats. At this time, I would now like to ask Rear Admiral Jack Buffington, Civil Engineer Corps, United States Navy retired, and Captain Steve Unger, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy retired, both of the Northwest Arkansas chapters of Military Officers Association of America, to come forward.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations to you folks today. That was just tremendous, and I know you're going to have a long and happy career there. I've got with me over here today Steve Unger here, Captain Steve Unger, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy, who had a quite distinguished career. He came in as a Navy corpsman. He picked up a college degree along the way, and he went on and became a captain in the Chaplain Corps in the Navy, which is just about unheard of for a guy to rise that fast, that far. This guy's a real hero. He never dodged any duty anywhere. He worked with the Marine Corps quite a lot, served over in the Middle East, Afghanistan, and everywhere else. And this guy's a real hero here, and it's a real honor to have him with me here today. We're from the MOA chapter, and the MOA chapter, Military Officers Association of America. And we present each year to about 4,000 students across the United States. They're gold bars. And yours is waiting for you right outside the door here. As you go into the bell, you can pick it up. It's got a copy of the Constitution on there, your gold bars, and some other information which we provide for you here. And so rather than take up the time and send them to you there, we'll let you pick